am. Happy Monday night, everybody. Special shout out to you guys that are joining over here on Instagram. Daniel, Claudia, doing good for a Monday. Oh my gosh, it was so dreary today. Just absolutely dreary and windy. Look at my hair. It was blown all over the place today and it is frizzy because I'm wind tossed. Let me go over to the comments and see if they're working. Hello to Tara. Good to see you today. Yes, it is a full moon Monday. And this is a special show about telepathy. So what I'm going to do is give you the history and the background of telepathy, and then we're going to go into the latest research on telepathy. And I want to give you a couple of ways to practice your telepathy. Now, there are more ways to do that, but only my Patreons are going to get those other ways. So, you Patreons that are listening, you're going to get the other ways in like a teaching, an online teaching, how to practice the telepathy. Now, getting back to Patreon, let me put up this. I'm going to block my face out a little bit. Sorry for you guys on Instagram. You can't see this because Instagram just does not play well with the streaming software programs. And I tried to do it one or two times using, they say what they are telling us to do on the streaming programs is to add yellow duck, and then each time add the stream code and all that, but it still didn't work. So I don't know. Anyway, let's talk about my Patreon page for just a minute. Members of my Patreon page get a daily influence, psychic influence, and moon astrology every single day, and it's a pretty extensive outlook. What we go over is the main energy of the day. We're looking at any problems that could occur, what you can do about them. Are people going to be in a good mood or a bad mood? And that kind of preps you and prepares you for the day. Health concerns for the day. I also have hair cutting. There are days that are lucky to cut your hair and days that are bad to cut your hair. So I have a hair cutting collection on the Patreon page. And then I have free online teaching for tier 2 of the Patreons. And tier 3 gets daily influences, online teaching, and a special live stream hour once a month that's happening tomorrow, where they get to be on a live stream chat with me for an hour and ask me whatever they want to ask me. So if you are interested in joining Patreon or looking at it a little bit closer, scan the QR code on the screen. Sorry about Instagram, you can't do that, but scan that QR code and it will take you to the page. Okay, now also, if you want to contribute to the show, all the equipment is very expensive for this, and I've had to replace a few things lately. So scan that QR code and you can send me a coffee. I love, love, love coffee. Let's see if we got any. Okay. Hey to Joan McCoy. Good to see you. And a special shout out to my beautiful neighbor, Miss Amber Bentine. I am going to, while that QR code is up there, I am going to sneak over to Facebook really quick and change windows. And, a lot of times the streams don't capture all of the comments, and like perfect now. Melissa Begley, Magical Monday to you. There are several people on Facebook that I need to shout out to that are not being listed on the chat. Hey to Judith, good to see you tonight. And it could be that it just hasn't caught up yet. So, I don't know. We'll see. And that's why I always keep a Facebook screen open so that I can be sure and check that. So let's get into our content, but not until I finish get this off of here. Let's get the coffee thing off of here. And I'm going to put the chat back up, comments back up. Okay, there we go. All right, let's get into it. What is telepathy? And, have you guys ever had this happen to you? Like, have you had like a blatant episode of telepathy that you couldn't explain other than it is telepathy? I mean, something just really that you were like, there's no doubt that telepathy exists. If you have, shout out in the comments and let us know about it. Hey to Joe Bruce, good to see you tonight. David's martinis are always so good, and he fixes me one before every show. So Amber says she has had one. Yes. Yes. Tell us about it, Amber. Tell us about it. All right. What is telepathy? Telepathy is from the ancient Greek. Tele meaning distant, and pathos meaning feeling or perception, passion, affliction, and experience. So we're going all the way back to ancient Greece. It is the purported vicarious transmission of information from one person's mind to another's without using any known human sensory channels or physical interaction. The term was first coined in 1882 by the classical scholar Frederick Myers, a founder of the Society for Psychical Research, and has remained more popular than the earlier expression thought transference. So, in before 1882, I guess they were referring to it as thought transference, but now the term that was coined then and has stuck through today is called mental telepathy, and that is the process of transferring thoughts from one mind to another. Now, what we're going to get into is they had some groundbreaking research that was done in 2014 and then experimented again in 2018 and again in 2021, and we're going to go over exactly what they did. But scientists were able to show mind-to-mind communication using the internet is possible. Like, it is now a scientific fact that mental telepathy exists. And if you want to go and look up the articles on this, you can start with psychologytoday.com and just search mental telepathy, and you will see the articles that come up on this. But let's go into a little bit of the background. Hey to Penny and Wildwood. Good to see you tonight. How's that little baby? I love your pictures of your baby, Wildwood. So pretty. So let's see here. Amber says, I have used telepathy in a joking way to play a game with others, and me and my partner were able to communicate with no words across the table, and we were both shocked that it worked. Don't be shocked, because now it's a scientific fact. And we're going to go over that. But I want to give you like how this started and how it began. So in 1892, and this was 10 years after they changed the terminology of mental telepathy to mental telepathy. So in 1892, Hans Berger was the inventor of the EEG. He was a mathematics student at the University of Jena in Germany, enrolled for a year in the cavalry. During a military exercise, he was suddenly thrown off his horse right into the path of a horse-drawn cannon. Lying helplessly on the ground, he stared up at the heavy artillery in sheer terror, inches away from crushing him. At that moment, miles away, his sister had a sudden premonition that something was terribly wrong. The feeling was so intense that she insisted that her father telegram him immediately. Back on the training ground, the quick reflexes of an artillery driver saved Berger's life. He escaped the incident with only bruises and quickly recovered. However, his sister's sudden intuition stayed with him long after the event. He could not dismiss the incident as mere coincidence and was convinced there must be a hidden science that he should uncover. He quickly became engulfed with the concept of telepathy, and it became the sole focus of his scientific career. Originally, he was a mathematics student and he wanted to become an astronomer. But after the incident, he returned to Jena and switched to medicine and physiology. He worked tirelessly to uncover the science behind these mysterious telepathic forces, and an obsession that took him directly to the cutting edge of neuroscience. And he was the inventor of the EEG, which is so very important in the scientific evidence that I'm going to present you with tonight. So Amber says, watch some information shows on ET ancestral, and I was trying to mimic. Absolutely. They say that the ancient ties to our makeup come from the telepathy we are equipped with from those lines. Very fascinating, the true roots of our makeup and researchers' findings. Yes, it is. It is absolutely. Let me go into Facebook real quick and make sure there are no other comments that. And Judith says, I try to do it while using my pendant. It works at first with simpler questions, at least from me to Bernard. Maybe he is learning how. Yes. Now, I mean, people think that just because a spirit has crossed over that they have this magical knowledge of everything, which they don't. Sometimes it takes a person in spirit quite a while to manipulate, energy and to bend matter. And that's an acquired skill for some spirits. Some spirits just naturally can flux into it, and others that it's almost like they have to experiment with it for a few times before they get the hang of it. Melissa says, the last time I encountered telepathy was being aware my niece passed away. Awakened by a phone call that she was gone, there was a warm energy that surrounded me. And I bet that was a visitation from her. And oh, I'm sorry you can't come to the live stream tomorrow night. Oh, I'll miss you too. All right, let's get back to the scientific evidence. So, in this man wanting to find out more about his telepathic experience with his sister, he develops and invents the EEG. Now, we're going to go back to 2014 and the scientific validation of telepathy. So, we're going to neuroscientist Carlos Grau of the University of Barcelona and colleagues set up a clever experiment in which signals picked up by an EEG from subjects in India were transmitted over the internet as email messages to other subjects in France whose scalps had been fitted with a transcranial magnetic stimulator. And we're just going to say TMS for short. Hey to Kitty Literal over here on Instagram. So the TMS devices, which have been used to treat anxiety and depression, what they do is they electrically stimulate neural activity in the brain through intact scalps using strong magnetic fields. In this experiment, TMS stimulators were placed over the occipital cortex at the back of the brain, and this is the visual part of your brain back here. Okay, and for those of you on Instagram, it's back here. That's the occipital ridge. And what this did, the TMSs create a perceived flash of light called a phosphene through neural activations in the visual cortex. And remember, the visual cortex is back here. The subjects in India were trained to generate an EEG signal representing either a 1 or a 0 using a biofeedback monitor. A 1 was generated when subjects imagined moving a hand, while 0 was produced when subjects imagined moving a foot. These 1s and 0s were then emailed from India with the EEG participants to France, which was the TMS participants, and routed to one of 2 TMS devices mounted on the subject's scalps. The 1s were routed to a TMS electrode that caused a phosphene to be perceived, while 0s were routed to a different TMS device whose activity produced no phosphenes. Think of this as kind of a neurological Morse code. The researchers encoded a series of 1s and 0s into words such as hola and ciao, showing that simple linguistic communication was possible by sending this Morse code type of phosphene perception. The bottom line is that the experiment more or less worked perfectly. The error rates of transmission of 1s and 0s varied between 1% and 11%, well below what would be expected by random noise. That is just unbelievable and so fascinating. Let me check on Facebook and make sure that I haven't missed any questions. So Judith says, back when I lived in Italy, I ran off the road driving home one morning. Talked with him on the phone a week or so later, and he's like, when was this? He, and who she means by he, I'm guessing is her deceased husband, Bernard. He, out in Idaho, had woke up with thought something was wrong that night about the same time it had happened. Wow. Hey to Ina, good to see you tonight. So yeah, I mean, several of us have had just blatant episodes of this that you can't question. Yes, Tara, that is absolutely incredible, no doubt. Okay, now we're going to go over a couple of ways you can practice telepathy. And remember, there are more ways to practice, but you have to be a Patreon to get those. Okay? So the first way to strengthen your telepathy is through chakra balancing. Now, clearly, if one of your chakras is off, you're not going to be able to sense effectively. And this is just my opinion and what I am trying to work out in my mind about telepathy. And so I'm going back to the first page when we talked about the definition of telepathy, when they were saying that it is the sensing, distant feeling, or perception. So feeling and perception is clairsentience, which is clear sensing. Okay. And clear sensing is an umbrella term for the psychic knower, the psychic empath, and the psychometric, which does feeling by touch. Okay. So in a lot of things that you read about telepathy, they talk about feeling, perception, mental telepathy, transferring of thoughts from one mind to another. And so what I'm thinking is the psychic knower is going to just be able to know what another person is thinking. So I'm thinking the psychic knower or the clairsentient is the person who is able to manipulate telepathy in the best way possible for themselves. So if you get two people who are clairsentients, information flows pretty easily from one person to another. Now, where the psychic feeling comes in is like those times in emergency where the feeling goes past your body through that energy cord of connection to the other clairsentient, and they receive or they have the feeling that something bad is going on. So your energy chakras are really important, because if you want to be engaged in telepathy, this chakra and the solar plexus chakra absolutely have to be balanced. And that's essential, I think, for this telepathy, because that's kind of how I feel like the telepathy works. So getting, a Reiki healing, and maybe even going to, I think probably the best idea would to be go to an acupuncturist to have your chakras balanced, because the acupuncturists are the experts at body energy. Hey to Oracles and Travel Girl, good to see you tonight. I hope you enjoy the content. So definitely get those chakras balanced. If you can't afford to go to an acupuncturist or a Reiki healer, there are some binaural beats on YouTube that are free that will help you balance your chakras. So what you want to do is just type in, let me put it in the comments here so that you know exactly what to type. I don't want to misspell it. Wonder how else I can didn't page down far enough. Okay, so Amber says I'm paused on YouTube. You know what, Amber? It probably blew YouTube's mind when I tried to post a comment. Yeah. Well, it'll be all right. I hope it doesn't stay paused though. Okay, so let's go over the second way that you want to practice your telepathy, and that is to strengthen your telepathic ability through meditation. And the reason being is that all psychic abilities, clairsentience, clairvoyance, clairaudience, mediumship, all work on slower brain waves. And part of this is some of the information that I share in my courses with people on how to improve their psychic abilities. But any kind of meditation will increase your reception for your telepathic ability of clairsentience. And what specifically you want to shoot for is alpha wave. So you want to target binaural beats for alpha wave, and then start practicing your telepathic ability. Now, to learn other ways to practice your telepathic ability, you will have to be a Patreon to do that, because I'm only going to give you one more outside the realm of Patreon on how to strengthen your telepathic ability. But meditation, visualization, balancing your chakras, these are all ways to improve and practice your telepathic skills. The last way that I'm going to give you on here to strengthen your telepathic ability is through visualization. And you're not only going to visualize, what you want to send somebody in telepathy, but you're going to also visualize all of the chakras spinning evenly and with good force. You're going to focus on each chakra and visualize the energy of it being able to transmit either a visual image or a feeling to someone else that has to be a willing participant. Okay. So, sorry about that. You need to be connected to, um, like flashes of, you need to practice using flashes of imagery, these visualizations. Have the person who's receiving, you can't talk to them or contact them until the end of the situation or, that you set up, and have them either jot down what they're seeing and what they're feeling. So these are ways that you can strengthen your telepathic abilities. And now, a lot of these things, that we're seeing science prove now, in the past were considered, um, quackery. you know, just like in the old days when I first got into my abilities and mediumship. In the old days, we had the idea that the body was made of light. And boy, did we get a lot of ridicule 30, 40 years ago over that. And so now it's a proven fact. And just like telepathy, in the 1800s was considered a pseudoscience, but now it's a scientific fact that we are able to do that, and there's more than enough evidence to support it. So now, next week, is going to be the open dream interpretation night. I invite you guys to go onto Facebook and share my post, to solicit dreams. Now, a lot of people won't send their dreams in because they think I will say their name or whatever. Everything is presented anonymously. All you have to do is message me with your dream and then tune into the show. All the presentations are done anonymously. And what I do is I walk you through how to interpret the dream that we're seeing, and why I determine what it means, through looking at different aspects of the dream. So Joe says, so if you call someone and they were just about to call you, would that be telepathy? Absolutely. That is the most perfect example of telepathy that I can think of, that happens to a lot of us. A lot. So yes, share the post on dream interpretation. And next week's show, I've got some really good dreams to present to you. And so if you have a dream that you want anonymously brought on the show and interpreted, just message it to me. And you can message it on Facebook or Instagram. If you have Instagram, you can DM the dream to me. If you have Facebook, you can message that to me, and I will present it on the show. So I hope you guys have a good week, and that things, calm down from Thanksgiving from last week. And I look forward to seeing you next Monday night. But also, anytime that you see a post, please share it. It really helps the show out, and it spreads the message to other people, and they can benefit from the information. And any kind of small business benefits, from you sharing their posts, liking their posts, because what that does is it triggers the algorithm of social media to share even more. And the more people that see it, the more benefit that you get from it as a small business. And so we really appreciate you guys doing that. And I will see you next week. Have a fabulous one. And I will see you later. Oh, kisses from Kentucky.